Mercedes-AMG Interview Lounge.
So, knowing Norma Kamali would be on with us today is such a thrill. And I'll say without doubt that I have memories of my mother's shoulder pads being almost as tall as her head.
Yes.
because Norma Kamali filled her closet. I think she had to get an extra tall closet to fit the shoulder pads in there. But so many stories between shoulder pads and 2021. Now Norma Kamali has a new book out called I Am Invincible. And I can't think of a better crew of people to talk to Norma and pick her brain than Bobby Brown and, of course, Gandhi and Danielle. And before we get started, I just want to let you know that on our show, we have a whole wide spectrum of age people listening, especially women.
Mm-hmm.
And our favorite motto is, if you're in your 20s and you're afraid of moving to your 30s, just you wait. You should be afraid of being in your 20s. The 30s are going to get better, the 40s even better, the 50s. And here I am, 57, and I'm telling you, I can't wait till 60. Part of me can't anyway. And I just really felt like that parallels some of the messages in your book.
Yeah.
I Am Invincible. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. You're absolutely right. So at 75, I will tell you, there is no way I'd trade places with any of you at whatever age you're at, because once you do it, every decade is sort of an initiation for the next decade. So you go through all of the challenges and the transformations, and they're all very important, very meaningful. And then you did it, and now you're ready for the next decade. So once you do that, realistically, you never want to be 20 again. I definitely don't want to be 30 again. That was harrowing. That was monumental. And then, and if you're in your 30s, you know what I'm talking about. 40s, you start to go into perimenopause and menopause, and 50, you have to reinvent yourself so you don't become invisible. And by 60, if you didn't allow yourself to become invincible, then you're like Elvis. You're on you're on it and you're moving. And if you are in that zone, that's pretty much where you're going to be for the rest of your life.
Wow.
It's you make a decision at 50. You know that, right? You make a decision at 50 about how you're going to move forward. And so at 75, I'm not wanting to go through any of that again. Thank you very much. So the key is looking forward, right? What are your plans ahead? So for me, I made a decision when I read this book several books about the cell turnover in our bodies. So at 120 years old, your cells have exhausted themselves. They're not turning over anymore. And so I thought, okay, I'm a long game. I'm in the long game, and I want to live to 120. Now, my genetic makeup may interfere with that little wish, but in any case, my mind is set for the long plan, right? So I do everything of thinking ahead, that I have all of this time and I want to do all of these things. And I think that that's really the way to look at aging in the most positive way. So you take each decade, get everything out of that decade you can to get ready for the next.
Great example, Bobby Brown, and I'd love to hear your thoughts here, but Bobby is now going through this beautiful metamorphosis in her career, in her life. And as her dear friend, we're watching this as it's happening. And how do you apply what Norma's saying to everything that's going on in your shift in life, Bobby?
Well, first I wanted to just take a second, because there's a lot of, listeners out there that probably ain't never heard of me and never heard of Norma Kamali. And that's why it's so amazing to have this platform on Elvis. But let me just tell everyone that is listening that Norma is not just a health guru. Norma is one of, she's a national treasure. What she has done for women, no, honestly, what she has done for women in her decades, from her being an entrepreneur, being a fashion designer, bringing health and wellness to the masses. She still owns her company. She fell in love with the man of her dreams at 70. She's engaged. She has the most wonderful fiance. And now, if you follow her on Instagram and you see her exercising and showing you how to do it, And I watched you brush your teeth the other day. I wanted that natural toothpaste.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Wait. We did a day. This woman is not afraid. There was a day with Norma, how she goes through her day. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, she was doing the splits the other day. I'm like, how are you possibly doing that?
This woman is real. She doesn't make this up. This isn't for, she doesn't make this up. She does it. And for a woman, a young girl at 63, who is me, I don't have a lot of role models. And you are absolutely like, I want to be like you when I'm 90, when
Bobby,
I'm 100.
you're fabulous. You're a national treasure. You are.
But who
truly
do you?
That.
But who do you look up to?
Well, I really, and I think you're right. And I mentor a lot of young women, and because there were women, and there still are women who are still mentoring me. And it's really important to have a connection. And I make myself available to young women because it's really important to communicate with someone who's been through it, who understands what that dynamic interaction is as you get older and more experienced, and what's going to happen next. How do you deal with it? So I have, the very woman that told me when I was 25 that I wouldn't meet my soulmate until I was 65, and I wanted to strangle her. Two of my dearest friends, one born June 26th, I'm June 27th, and the other guy was June 28th. We did everything together, so we all had to go to this astrologer. And she said wonderful things about this career that I was going to have and all of this wonderful stuff. And then she said, towards the end, you'll meet your soulmate when you're 65. And I thought, this woman's crazy. I said, no, I think you're wrong. She said, no, I'm rarely ever wrong. And it's like, oh my God, I actually meet my soulmate at 65. And thanks to Ian Schrager, God bless him, finally coming through.
Your ex-boyfriend, by the way.
So,
I mean, how many ex-boyfriends introduce you to the man of your dreams?
I know. Well, we're soulmates on another level. And so I never thought Ian would pick the guy for me. He never did before. He hated every guy I ever went out with. But then all of a sudden, he found this fantastic human being.
Wow.
So the point is that, and Elvis, didn't you just get married? Look, right?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago.
There you go. So
I know, but I was told I was about to meet my cellmate because they thought I was all going to prison or something. Like, no, soul mate.
Soulmate. But it shows you we all have an individual story. We all have an individual timeline. So at 30, there's a lot of tears on the pillow, because if you haven't gotten that soulmate and you're not ready to have a family and do all of those predictable things,
you feel
like life is passing you by. And please don't be even thinking of that for a minute. Don't feel sad. Don't feel like it's not happening for you. Just really work on self-love. I have to say, self-love, and not narcissistic self-love, because we're not in that zone, but self-love and really caring for yourself, doing things for you, helps you find the right person. That person will come to you. Otherwise, you'll attract the dregs. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're going to attract the lowlifes of humanity. Yeah. They will smell it out.
Amen.
We've all met them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of us are them.
Hi now.
You know what? This is a very good point. So I turned to my sisters, of course, Gandhi and Danielle, who are so woven into each other.
You guys are the best. I love the mothers the other day. I mean, you guys are so adorable.
Wait, you listen?
Oh, yay.
That's exciting.
That's so cool. But here's the thing. I wake up really early, and I'm in the office really early, and I'm by myself. So, and I love to dance. So I like to listen to music and dance while I'm doing my stuff. So I just think you both are so perfect obviously, for this conversation because you're at first the idea of being young and trapped in a house for a year and being in your basement for a year, it's not good, and you're feeling the anxiety of it, and you should be because it is unnatural and it's a terrible experience. So I was talking to someone I really respect yesterday about nutrition and the importance of really having a healthy diet and really getting as much sleep as you can and taking care of yourself. Now back to self-love, really doing those things, meditate, care for you is key when you're in this stressful, horrible time. And I hope that all of that 20 to 30-year-old group, when they get out of the house, when they're already at the door, 1 foot out as it is, I'm sure, that everybody in that generation, in that group, go out and hold each other, hug each other, try to get your... we have to, we will soon. We will soon. But I know when I was growing up, we would touch each other. I mean, between men and women, boys and boys, girls and girls, touch each other, touch each other's faces.
Norma, when you were in your 20s, and I know you were hanging out at Studio 54.
Oh, I want to hear the stories.
Oh, come on. You were friends with Andy Warhol. Come on. Like, this is not just this, healthy guru.
I heard Norma got into a fist fight with a horse at the front door of Studio 54.
Nice.
And Halston,
a white horse.
Halston was on the horse. And Liza Minnelli blew smoke in your face. It was a bad night.
It was bad. It was a bad night.
So what was that like? And did you take care of yourself then, or did you learn from that? Like, I'm just curious.
Well, I have to say, I was a bacon blue cheeseburger with Bubblicious for dessert kind of person. And when my 2 best friends that I just told you about died of AIDS, I was devastated. It was one of the worst, darkest times of my life because they were my family. And I decided at that point, since I couldn't save them, nobody could save them, what could I do? So I had to learn about the immune system. Why was this happening? Why do they not have an immune system that would support their health? And that's when I went out west. I went to Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, met people who were sort of in an underground healthy lifestyle sensibility that wasn't really talked about at the time. It was very underground. And Andrew Weil was just really one of the pioneers, and he brought people like Michael Pollan, who've written wonderful books. If you guys want to read really good information about growing food in this country and in the world, Michael Pollan's great. Dr. Lodog, who's a Native American medicine woman. All of these people had so many interesting things to teach. And I went for many years, did a lot of the retreats and kept notes with doctors and other people who were much wiser than I was. But I learned the lifestyle. And then I kept getting more gurus and more mentors in this area, including Horst, who developed Aveda. Bobby, you must know him. He was just such an extraordinary man. And with all of that information, I lived a lifestyle. I didn't talk about it until 9/11, when I realized then that everybody would have a compromised immune system because of this new world order that we were going to be living in. And I opened the Wellness Cafe.
In what year? I mean, that was, I mean, you were such a pioneer.
9/11, right around that, exactly around that time. So, the point is, I mean, my mother was actually very much a health person. She was juicing. She had a juicer that was like a car engine that felt like it was right next to my bed. And every morning she would get those carrots in there, and I was like, oh my mother is crazy. This is like, who does this? Nobody else's mother did. But then, of course, I think we might end up all becoming our mothers anyway. So,
No.
no.
Well,
Anyway,
to that point of what you're talking about, when you talk to women in their 30s or in their 40s, in their 50s, I would imagine that there are different things that are really important for their self-care and for their mental health. So what are, in your opinion, the things that are most important to those different decades? Like for a 30-year-old, for myself, if I'm in my 30s, what's the most important thing that you would tell your 30-year-old self?
Well, in your 30s, what happens is the in your 20s, everything is brand new. You're an adult for the first time. Everything is a new experience. Your job experiences, your friendships to help figure out who you are, your dating life, and sex. You're just interacting with human beings sexually. And then as you go past 30 and you get over the hump of realizing that you don't have to get married and have kids right now, that you can have a life that's defined by you. A lot of people, men and women, are sort of faking it till they make it, because what do you know, really? So you start to fake your way along until you figure it out. And that's what 30s are about. You don't, you're learning, but you're also starting to define your brand, right? So this is who I am. This is who I want to be, realizing what you're capable of. And it's very different from the anxiety you have in your 20s, as you know, right? In your 20s, the fact that you're so vulnerable and so innocent in so many ways, trying to pretend to be an adult and really making some big mistakes that are incredibly painful, that you carry with you for a while and you have to shed along the way. But in your 30s, you have a little bit more security, so the anxiety is different. But the anxiety is real about still thinking, am I off schedule? Should I, now the dating market is closed for me, right? You're aged out of dating in the sense of the 20s dating. So you find a new way to meet people. You find a new way to create your life. But a lot of it comes from the confidence you're building as you're faking it along the way and realizing, hey, I really can do this. I'm really actually good at it. And then you start to say, okay, this is who I am. I deserve a special kind of person. I don't have to be as vulnerable. And so that's what the 30s are about. The 30s are actually a great time to define yourself and figure out who you are, what you want to be. And the 40s are when you're there, you can monetize your brand, right? You can say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is me. And then, of course, you have the challenge of this phase that you go into, that's perimenopause, menopause. And
thank you. Sweating all night is not fun.
Well, so a lot of what you can do is through diet and exercise. Clearly, I interviewed a lot of scientists who are specialists in aging and doctors, and I highly recommend you stay as far away from alcohol as you possibly can, because that is definitely throws you up and down the hormonal roller coaster. And when you
Bobby.
Norma and I definitely, disagree on this. I'm sure it's not the healthiest thing for you, but it's such a pleasurable moment of calm in my day. I don't abuse it. I don't overdo it. I take breaks.
How much tequila have you had this morning?
Yeah, but Bobby, you're already through menopause, and it's not, unless you're not,
no.
but I think through menopause, it's really important
Okay.
to be super, like once you hit 40, start to kind of chill on that. Use meditation, use a lot of other things. Exercise for sure is super helpful. And of course, you see your doctor and you get advice about what the choices are for you and what you can do. But this is part of the transformation to 50 that is extraordinary. And I'm sure you agree, Bobby, and Elvis too. Once you hit 50 and you reinvent yourself in that way that really is going to define who you are going forward, it's extraordinary. You really have to think about 50 as an opportunity
but
in
Norma,
a way that most.
right. But
Yes.
don't you agree that if you, all of these decades, if you don't start to pay attention to yourself and say, okay, something's not working. I wake up with headaches. Oh, maybe I'm not drinking enough water. I am so much about food really affects your mental state. It's not just your physical. And I think you were an early proponent of that. But I think
Yeah.
that, when you're in your 50s, 40s or 50s, if you don't have those good habits, you're in trouble. And your
Danielle.
recipes in the book are amazing.
Danielle was going to go out for pizza today. Now what are you going to do?
I know. I
Oh,
really
man.
was. Tell you.
Well, but the thing is it's Bobby is right. It's never too late, obviously, but especially born into this world, if you're in your 20s now and 30s, you were born into a world that is so more high stress than my generation or Bobby or Elvis, because things were different. The stress level now, not just because of the pandemic, but the stress level is so high. The environment is obviously a
Social
big
media
issue for
alone
us.
is a stress level.
I was going right there. That's exactly right. And that's why when we get over this for the 20 to 30 and 30 to 40-year-olds, this is the time when you get together with friends, put the devices away and just interact with each other, hold each other, talk to each other, give somebody a hand massage, touch their faces, be connected physically and humanly, because we're missing that. And you guys have had very little of it, and I think it's really an important thing to think about.
So are you running around the streets of New York touching people? What are you doing?
Not
That'd be
yet.
awesome.
She will be.
I mean, I have had a childhood and a development with a lot of touching. So I'm automatically more physical than I think some of the 20 to 30-year-olds are. And they just have a different set of circumstances.
Absolutely.
And I think it would be so great if there could be more conversation about that kind of interaction. Also, sexually, it's so different now. The tenderness and the kindness of that physical connection is really key to romance. And I think I want these girls to have romance. I want them to have that kind of feeling about romance, love, and sex, and the warmth of relationships in that way. It is really different. I'm surrounded by a lot of young people, and my heart breaks. It's like, what is going on? You guys have got to take this on and make it work in a kind way.
And this is a woman that makes the most beautiful clothes, that really helps women. By the way,
Hold it
her,
up. Hold it up. Look at this. Hold it up, Gandhi. She wore this at one of my events not too long ago.
Oh,
Yes.
kidding.
I
Oh,
love
good.
it. It is the flower like jumpsuit, the one piece.
Yes.
And I love
Yeah.
this thing so much. I wore it at our iHeartRadio Music Festival, and I got more compliments on this
Oh, good.
than I think I've gotten on anything. So like a psycho, I tried to get your attention, and I just tagged you a bunch of times. Anytime somebody would ask me, where'd you get it? I'm like, at Norma Kamali, every single time. So I love it.
Did you really get it from us directly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fabulous. I'm so happy.
I love it.
And that print, by the way, that print was just such a huge hit. And before this appointment, I was on a fabric print appointment, virtual, of course. And I was thinking, I think it's time for me to find a flower print again that was as good as it's so funny that was exactly on my mind before the call. That's so great. Thank you. And
No,
I'm sure
I love
you look
it.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Oh, it was great. But obviously, you have seen a lot of fashion and changes over the years. I'm sure you see old things coming back all the time. I remember when I was younger, my mom was like, "You're wearing what I used to wear in middle school." And now I think that about some of the stuff I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So for you, are there things coming back that you wish wouldn't? And what was the worst fashion trend that you think has existed? I'm going to stay away from those.
Love that.
So obviously, there isn't a worse fashion trend except for the double shoulder pads that I made Elvis's mother made. That's the one, Elvis, out of everything, that's the one thing I think, what the hell was I thinking?
No, they defined an era, though. They defined an era. I mean, Joan Collins Dynasty, they were in it. They were on it. I mean, no.
I know, but I was stacking them high. I was stacking those girls high.
I love it.
It was great.
And what about the high-cut bathing suit? Do you think any woman any age could wear that high-cut bathing suit?
No. I mean, obviously, I do. Right now, I'm working on my resort collection, which is when you launch the most amount of swimsuits. And because I've been in business, it's going on 54 years. Obviously, I have a very broad range of customers with different bodies, different lifestyles. And so the swimsuits are quite different. A high leg swimsuit I first did in the early 70s, and nobody was doing a high leg. I remember,
right?
Well, but that was a little later on. But when I first did that, it was just everybody was like, what is going on with it? It was really very, very popular. And then one of the people in my company named Marissa saw one of the suits in a vintage shop, and she bought it in. She said, I bought this, you have to do it again. And I said, nobody's going to wear that high. Like, this was about 6 years ago. Said, I think so. So I said, okay, I'll make it. If we sell it, I'll name it Marissa. If we don't, I'm dropping it. And of course, the Marissa sells like crazy.
I bet.
And yeah, she keeps reminding me, don't you love the Marissa? Yes, I do. But the high leg is not for everyone, obviously. But if you look,
not for me.
But you know what? It's so much of it has to do with, I see these beautiful photographs that women post of themselves in my clothes. And I love it because there's so many body types, so many different people, and it's all about personality and how you perceive yourself. And so I think it's how you feel in your mind and your body defines the kind of clothes you're going to wear, or what you're going to, what it's going to look like on you because of the confidence you project.
Wait a minute. What do you think then? Then what do you think about the Gen X that's coming forward and saying, we're getting rid of skinny jeans. We don't need those anymore. What do you think about stuff like that?
You mean Gen Z?
Yeah, Gen Z. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So, I love Gen Z. I have to tell you, Gen Z remind me a lot of the difference between baby boomers and the generation before. And as a baby boomer, I'm seeing such a connection. And they really are beating to their own drum. They're very committed to the community, to doing the right thing. They'll work 2 or 3 jobs, and they're quite industrious. And so they want to define themselves in a very different way than, they want to define themselves in a very different way from millennials. I mean, they clearly want to be very different. And I find them very ingenious, not as ingenious in the way that our whole digital communication as a result of the millennial desires of change and disruption are, but a different kind of approach. What I love about them is that gender, race, religion, everything have no hard lines. Everything is blurred. Everything is just evened out and not separated or hard lined. And that is so great. It's so refreshing. And so I think they're going to do things in a very different way. And you know what? It's good. It's good. Change.
So are you sitting cross-legged right now, Norma?
No, I'm sitting on I made this furniture, and it's soft furniture, and it's these big shapes. And so I'm sitting with my legs. Usually I have to wear pants because I never sit like a lady.
Neither do I.
Show the girls what you do with your legs, because honestly, it's like you are the most like no.
Well, do that again. Do that again. Look at that.
Oh my goodness, so flexible, Bobby.
I asked you to do that one night and you couldn't do it.
Norma. Yeah, her exercise, like you can't even imagine.
I just want to remind everyone, I Am Invincible is the book. Congratulations on
Thank
everything.
you.
And congratulations on just entertaining the living hell out of us for the past 30 minutes. And I will say one of my favorite things you said in the book, and I do believe this sort of parallels our Bobby Brown as well. When you feel good in your body and your mind, you'll probably spend less on clothes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I thought that was
Oh, well,
really
you'll
simple.
make better decisions about the clothes you wear. A lot of people buy clothes and don't wear them, we have no place for that, obviously. But if you feel good about yourself, you'll buy things that actually you love and feel good in, and that's a big deal. That has so much to do with self-esteem.
Hey, Danielle and Gandhi, Bobby, do you have any quick fire last minute questions for Norma?
I just want you to know, Norma, that I'm going to be stalking you. So thank you for all of the advice. I think that you're fascinating. Yeah. I think you're amazing. I think you're really inspirational. Okay, good.
Well, I thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I would love to be stalked by you.
Yeah, happening right now.
I want to know. I heard that there's an age where you go, who gives a crap anymore what anybody thinks? So I'm waiting to get to that age.
You're heading into that. You're heading there soon.
Let's go.
There soon. Yeah.
Why wait?
It's the best. It's so freeing. It's so freeing that there's a lot of benefits ahead.
I can't
Just
wait.
get through what you're getting through now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Bobby,
and
any
keep
final
your
thoughts?
sense of humor. Yeah, my final thoughts is just, a love letter to you and thank you. And when I think about putting on your bathing suit, the only way I could do it is with the coat on top of it. The very famous sleeping bag coat. So I will wear that together and feel good in my body. So thank you for all you've given us.
Bobby, you're the sweetest. You're great. And I'm so happy. I love everything you're doing. All of this great stuff she's making. And it's so fab.
By the way, really Norma has a beauty company too, and you know what? We support each other, and we're going to do a makeup thing.
We should. Oh,
you
know what?
The younger generation.
Yeah. No, we should do something, Bobby.
We're going to.
We should. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. All right.
We just made a deal. Okay.
Yes. I got it.
Thank you, guys.
I just want to say one thing. Thank you. Because I'm always surrounded by the best, and of course, the best are right in front of you. And I'm so glad we could all get together today. Thank you so much, Norma. I Am Invincible. Best of luck with the book and everything else you have coming up until you croak at 120 years old.
Seriously. See you then.
Thank
Love
you,
it.
Norma. Norma Kamali, everyone. Yes, awesome.
Take care.
The Mercedes AMG Interview Lounge.